A bright morning greeted me with the warm greeting of the sun that had just risen from behind the hills. Dew still faithfully hung on the tips of the rice leaves, sparkling like crystal grains that were slowly dropped by the sky. I stood in the middle of a vast expanse of rice fields, the aroma of wet soil and wild grass wafted through the air, blending with the distinctive smell of mud and irrigation water that flowed quietly between the rice fields. In the distance, the sound of small birds answered each other, as if accompanying music for my every step. Today is not just a farming routine. There is a bitterness that has been lingering since a few days ago, when I found that some of the rice seeds that I planted with hope and care had been eaten by greedy snails. They came silently at night, leaving behind a trail of destruction that was invisible from a distance. I was disappointed. Of course, it is not easy to see your hard work destroyed by small creatures that do not even know the meaning of a harvest. But I did not remain silent. This morning I went back down to the rice field, replanting the lost seeds, as if restoring the hope that had been shattered. I planted new seeds, with a new heart too. Every rice seed that goes into the mud is not just a plant, it is a representation of determination, of the belief that everything can grow again, as long as it is given time and perseverance. The sky is blue above my head, and the wind blows softly, cooling my sweat-drenched skin. I feel at peace here, amidst the sound of trickling water and the wind rustling through the rice stalks. There is no noisy traffic, no flashing screens, just me, nature, and down-to-earth hard work. This is not easy work, but it is not suffering either. This is the most honest, most down-to-earth part of my life. The sun continues to climb, its light increasingly warm, touching the skin and reflecting a golden glow on the surface of the rice field water. In the middle of the green expanse that is starting to be promising, I continue my work with a heart full of patience. Not only replanting the seedlings that were eaten by snails, I also pull out the weeds that are starting to grow between the young rice plants. These hands tirelessly dig into the mud, pulling out one by one the disturbing roots that try to steal nutrients from the plants that are struggling to grow. The grasses looked small, insignificant, but if left unchecked they could become enemies within. They grew silently, quickly, and often rivaled rice in absorbing water and sunlight. So every stalk of grass I pulled felt like pulling out a problem before it could grow big. Sometimes there were also those whose roots were deeply embedded, making me have to grip tighter and pull harder, leaving traces of mud stuck between my nails. But I didn't mind. This was part of the task of nature that I had chosen, or perhaps, that had chosen me. Every now and then, my eyes sweep the surface of the water, looking for suspicious faint movements. If I see a snail swimming slowly or crawling on the rice stalks, I immediately catch it and put it in the container I brought. Their movements may be slow, but the destruction they cause can be fast and silent. I don't want to repeat the loss of seedlings like yesterday, so today I am more alert, more alert. Catching these snails is not just about protecting the rice from threats, but also a kind of subtle revenge, not because of hatred, but because I love what I plant. Every stalk of rice is a hope, and I don't want that hope to be destroyed in vain. Sometimes I think about how life in the rice fields teaches us about balance. Some grow, some must be cleaned, some must be saved, and some must be sacrificed. The wind blew again, bringing the fresh smell of mud and grass. The sounds of nature filled the quiet space between my thoughts, the sound of crickets, the moaning of cows from a distance, and occasionally, the sound of water moving slowly following its course. In the midst of all that, I continued to work, not saying much, only having a dialogue in my heart with nature that faithfully accompanies me. Today is not just about hard work, but about caring. Caring for rice, caring for hope, and caring for the invisible relationship between humans and the earth on which they stand. And here I am, continuing to walk slowly on the mud, leaving small traces that may be erased by water, but not by time. I did all this not because I was forced to. With the enthusiasm that had been flowing since morning, I walked through each plot of rice field with an open heart. These hands moved automatically, replanting the seeds that had been destroyed, pulling out the weeds that tried to take over the space, and taking one by one the snails that could be a threat. There were no complaints, no boredom, only sincerity that grew along with the green expanse of rice before my eyes. In the middle of the cold mud and the calm stagnant water, I actually felt more alive. There was a kind of calm that could only be found here, amidst the silence of nature and the regular rhythm of work. When I bent down, pulled out grass, or netted snails from behind the rice stalks, I knew that this was part of a long journey towards hope. Every movement of mine was a form of caring, and every sweat that dripped was part of a struggle that was never in vain. I don't think about daily wages or instant results. All I have in mind is the image of the days to come, when the rice begins to turn yellow, when the grains are heavy because of the abundant contents, and the afternoon wind sways the stalks like golden waves that never stop moving. I imagine that day coming, and a smile will appear without having to be asked. There is a sense of satisfaction that cannot be bought, which only appears after months of working silently, selflessly. All the tiredness today, all the mud that sticks to the skin, even the sun that burns the back of the neck, will feel light if I can finally see the results growing before my eyes. I believe that effort never betrays. In this rice field, a small field that I sow with prayer and work, will return everything one day, not only in the form of a harvest, but also in the form of simple happiness, eating from the results of my own hands, sharing with family, and feeling content even though the world keeps running. So I continue to work with unfeigned enthusiasm. Not because I want to be praised, but because I know, this is my path. An honest, modest, but meaningful life. Hopefully when the harvest season comes, all that I have sown with perseverance and love will return to me in a much larger form, abundant rice, a relieved heart, and a smile that no longer needs to be hidden. And when dusk slowly begins to fall, I will return home with dirty hands, a tired body, but a light heart. Because I know, I have done my part, reviving hope from the mud, under a morning sky that never breaks its promises.